In this video, we're going to talk about how to combine like terms. So you should have a sheet with the following examples on it. We're going to look at example 1, and then we'll look at the next 4 problems as well and talk about some key common issues, which is especially when we're flipping. So first of all, example 1, there's no parentheses in this problem, so we're going to start by finding the like terms. And like terms are when they have the same numbers of x's and y's. They're like tiles if we were to draw the algebra tiles. So 4xy's and 6xy's get combined together, and since there's 4 positives plus 6 more positive xy's, we have 10 xy's. Next we look for the next like term. So I find 3 x's, and later on in the problem I see 2 x's, and they're all plus. So all together we have 5 x's, so plus 5x. Then I look for the next like term, 2y, but there's no other term like that. There's no other y's, so altogether I just still have plus 2y. The last thing I look for is so that minus 7 can combine with that plus 7. Minus 7, then I add 7. We should remember that that makes a 0. I can write plus 0, or I could forget about that because it's really gone and I don't need to represent that. So that is your answer for the first example. But now when we start to having to flip. So let's review when to flip. When I see that plus, I'm not going to flip because that would mean all the tiles are in the positive section of my algebra board, and so I'm not going to flip anything for that first example. This next one though, I'm going to flip because of the minus. I'm going to flip the group that's being subtracted. So that second group, minus x squared plus 2x plus 1, is going to get flipped to being minus x squared, a minus 2x, and a minus 1. Each of them will flip to their opposites. The front group, though, stays the same because it's not in the bottom region, it's in the top region, so we're going to leave it the same and simply copy it down. Now we're ready to do just like we did in example 1. We're ready to simplify by finding like terms. So we put the x squareds together, 3x squared and a minus x squared. That adds up to 2x squareds because we took 1 away from the 3. Then we look for the next like terms. We see the x's, 4x minus 2x would simplify to 2x. And then we look for the final like term, 2 and a minus 1. Together that makes positive 1. And you're done with that example. Let's finish up the one that we don't have to flip. We simply copy everything down. The parentheses were just to group them and talk about adding the two groups together, but we don't need to change anything when we take off the parentheses because everything was in the top. Now we're simply going to find like terms. So we have 2x squareds. We'll put the x's together to get 7x's, and then we'll put the constants 4 and 3 together to get 7. 2x squared plus 7x plus 7 is your simplified result. Let's look at the final two examples here. Notice the minus in between the parentheses, so that means we're going to flip the second group. So we're going to flip negative 5x squared to be positive 5x squared. 4x becomes minus 4x, and the minus 8 becomes plus 8. Each of those flip to their opposite. The first group stays the same again because it is 4x squared minus 2x plus 7 was all in the top. Now I start to combine like terms. So I find all the x squareds and a total of 9x squareds. Then I find all the x's. Minus 2x minus 4x makes minus 6x. Plus 7 and a plus 8 add up to positive 15. And that is your simplified answer. The next question, there's actually going to be a double flip. We're going to flip the first group because of the minus in front. And we're going to flip the second group because it is also being subtracted. So whenever the parentheses are being subtracted or a negative in front of them, we flip to the top region. So the negative 3x squared becomes positive 3x squared. The negative x becomes positive x. The 6 becomes negative 6. We're also flipping the second group of parentheses. So the minus 2x squared becomes plus 2x squared. The minus x becomes plus x. And the minus 7 becomes plus 7. So sometimes students like to keep this minus that was originally here in the problem. But remember, the goal was to flip it to the top. So it's really adding all those pieces now. They were originally all minuses, so they all became pluses. But we don't want a minus in here. We don't want to keep that minus in there. So make sure that you don't accidentally do that and leave the minus in that spot. So let's take a look now for our like terms. X squareds, we have 5x squareds because 3 plus 2. X's, 2 x's, x plus x. And then we have our minus 6 and our plus 7. That adds to 1. If you're not so good with your integer skills and you don't know that negative 6 and a positive 7 make 1, use your calculator, that's fine, but don't lose that minus in front of the 6. This is our simplified result for the final example. So your job now is to complete the problems on the next page. Okay, finding the like terms and so on. So make sure that you take the time to do that, and when you're finished, show your answers to your teacher so we can check them and see how you did. Hopefully this clarified some things. Do your best and be careful with flipping. Make sure you flip when you need to, but don't flip when you don't need to.